Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine finding a forgotten manuscript, maybe tucked away in some remote Himalayan monastery. And this manuscript, it claims to fill in the missing years of, well, one of history's most pivotal figures, Jesus Christ.
Right, and today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that possibility, focusing on Nicolas Notovitch's controversial 1887 book, The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ.
Our mission really is to trace Notovitch's incredible journey, look at the surprising details of this figure, Issa, from the texts he claimed to find.
And try to understand why this document caused such an uproar. I mean, it challenged centuries of established belief.
Absolutely. So you're going to hear about some amazing travels, really surprising cultural observations, and yeah, a narrative that might just reshape how you see a very familiar story. So let's start with the man himself, Nicolas Notovitch. He was a Russian aristocrat, an adventurer,
Mm-hmm.
and after the Turkish War, sort of in the late 1870s, he developed this real fascination with India. Its archaeology, the landscapes. Yeah, that fascination drew him there in 1887. He wasn't exactly on a schedule, more following his curiosity.
And it turns out that curiosity led him somewhere completely unexpected. He's in Ladakh, planning to cross back to Russia, and he visits a Buddhist convent.
Okay.
And there, a chief lama just sort of casually mentions these ancient memoirs about Jesus Christ, stored in Lhasa, apparently, with copies in other monasteries, too.
Wow. Just like that. A whisper of a hidden history.
Pretty much.
So Notovitch must have been hooked immediately. He had to find these manuscripts. But getting access, that wouldn't be simple, right? You can't just ask.
No, exactly. So he came up with this, well, quite ingenious plan, maybe a bit dramatic.
Oh, what'd you do?
He made a show of leaving Leh, the main town, heading back towards India. Then, supposedly, he has this absolutely unexpected accident, breaks his leg.
An unexpected broken leg. Sounds a little convenient.
You could say that. It gave him the perfect reason, the perfect pretext to return to the Hemis Monastery nearby for surgical attention.
Clever.
Yeah.
So the injury, real or maybe strategically exaggerated, was his way in.
That's the story. And while he was there, recovering, he managed to persuade the chief lama to read to him from these ancient scrolls about Issa.
Well, his interpreter translated it all.
Yes, painstakingly translating the Tibetan into Notovitch's notebook.
Yeah.
Yellowed scrolls, ancient script.
Yeah.
Quite the scene if you imagine it.
Incredible patience. But then he gets back to Europe, right? Ready to share this bombshell discovery. How did that go? Smooth sailing.
Not exactly. He hit a major wall. The establishment, particularly the church, was, let's just say, less than enthusiastic.
Really? Why?
He approached several high-ranking figures.
Yeah.
Mayor Platten in Kew told him publishing could only hurt him. A cardinal in Rome apparently offered him money to just keep it quiet.
Offered him money. Wow.
Yeah, and Cardinal Rotelli in Paris called the idea premature, warning it would just give new food to the calumniators and detractors of the evangelical doctrine. Basically, they saw it as a threat.
So serious pushback. Did he talk to anyone outside the church?
He did. He met with the philosopher M. Renan, who was quite famous. Renan suggested presenting it to the Academy.
But Notovitch didn't jump at that, after all the effort.
No. It seems Notovitch wanted all the credit for himself. Pure ambition, perhaps. He decided to wait until after Renan died.
Huh. Calculated.
Very. So once Renan passed away, Notovitch finally published his translation. He insisted it was authentic and basically dared the academic world, the societies of savants, to fund an expedition and prove him wrong by verifying the manuscripts themselves.
Quite the challenge to throw down. Now, beyond the discovery itself, let's talk about the journey to Hemis. It wasn't exactly a walk in the park, was it?
Oh, definitely not. His descriptions of traveling through Kashmir and into Ladakh are intense.
Yeah.
Rugged terrain, winding roads, barely clinging to mountainsides, treacherous passes.
He mentions the Zagila Pass specifically, right? Like 11,500 feet.
Exactly. It paints a really vivid picture of the challenges, and he throws in these personal anecdotes that make it feel very real.
Like the story about the panthers and bears.
Yeah. That harrowing night in the Sindh Pass, they lost a carrier, but he managed to shoot a bear. He even mentions his dog, Pamir, facing dangers alongside him. It gives you a sense of the wildness of the place back then.
And he wasn't just observing the landscape, he was observing the culture too. Some really interesting, maybe even slightly awkward moments.
Like the polluted milk incident.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, he recounts how a Hindu merchant made him pay a whole rupee for an entire cauldron of milk simply because Notovitch, a non-Hindu, had looked at it, therefore polluting it in the merchant's eyes.
Wow. Talk about cultural clashes.
It highlights his observations on what he saw as the downside of the Brahminical system, the strict rules, the ceremonies. He felt it stifled people, calling it idiocy, born from excessive laws and clerical control. A pretty harsh critique.
Definitely. So then he reaches Ladakh itself. How did he describe that place and its people?
He found the land stark, arid, and forbidding rocks, and the people. He had, well, distinct impressions. He described the men as beardless and ugly, but the women as robust and cheerful. Quite a contrast.
And then there's the whole polyandry situation he observed. That must have stood out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He goes into quite a bit of detail. In Ladakh at that time, women commonly had multiple husbands, usually 3 to 5.
And this wasn't about religion.
No, he clarifies it wasn't Buddhist doctrine, but pure economics. Limited farmland meant they needed to control population to keep family plots intact. So brothers would often share a wife.
Fascinating. He mentioned other details too, right?
Yeah.
About the children and family structure.
Yes, like the firstborn son often being sent to a monastery, or how a family might take in a bachelor as an extra husband. And crucially, he noted a lack of jealousy, and that women held a respected, free position in society.
Contrasting with the men who he saw as somewhat lazy.
Right, and the children. Often they only really knew their mother, given the multiple potential fathers. It's a really interesting snapshot of a society shaped by its environment.
It really is. It challenges your assumptions about family norms. So his travels also took him to various monasteries.
Yes, places like Malbec, with its prayer cylinders turning in the wind, and La Meilleure, which he described as labyrinthine. And he noticed something odd.
What was that?
The monks seemed to prefer Europeans.
Why?
When he asked, that's when a lama first mentioned Issa. He called him a son of the one and indivisible God, an incarnation of Buddha who spread the religion but was ultimately murdered by others.
So that's the first mention. And didn't the Lama say something striking about Christianity?
Yes, this is key. The Lama explicitly referred to the Pope as the Christian Dalai Lama and called the whole papal system a great sin from their perspective. That conversation, that specific comparison, seems to be what really ignited Notovitch's determination to find these manuscripts about Issa.
Even though the monks were initially reluctant to share.
Very reluctant. These were sacred things, not for casual viewing.
Which brings us back to that convenient accident.
Exactly. The broken leg provided the perfect, unavoidable reason to return to Hemis. They welcomed him, cared for him, and during that recovery period.
He finally wore down the chief Lama.
Through his ardent insistence, as he puts it. The Lama eventually relented and began reading to him from the 2 big books that contained the biography of St. Issa.
Okay, so the stage is set, Notovitch is listening, his interpreter is translating. What did these ancient scrolls actually say about the life of St. Issa? Because this is where it gets really divergent from the standard narrative.
Oh, absolutely. Some parts are familiar, but the context and details are often radically different. Take Moses, for example, or Mosa, as the text calls him.
How is he portrayed?
Not as an Israelite slave, but as an Egyptian prince, a son of Pharaoh, educated by Israelite sages living in Egypt.
An Egyptian prince.
Wow, okay. And his leadership in the Exodus. It's attributed less to divine miracles and more to his cunning and knowledge gained from that education. The plagues are presented more like spreading disease and the famous Red Sea crossing, explained as taking advantage of a natural ebb tide.
So it emphasizes human intellect and natural events over the purely supernatural.
Precisely. It completely reframes the foundation of the Exodus story.
That is a massive shift. What comes next in the Chronicle?
It describes Israel's subsequent decline from its former glory, eventually becoming enslaved by, quote, pagans from over the sea from the land of Rumless.
Romans, clearly.
Yes, and the people cry out to God again, which sets the stage for Issa's arrival.
And his birth, was that similar to the Gospels?
It says he was born to poor but pious Israelite parents, descendants of King David, which aligns somewhat. But here's a major divergence. At age 13, apparently the traditional age for marriage then, he secretly leaves Jerusalem.
Leaves? Where does he go?
He joins merchant caravans heading east, towards the Sindh region, which is now in Pakistan and India. Why? To study and perfect himself in the knowledge of the Word of God and the laws of the great Buddhas.
So heading east to study Buddhism at age 13.
That's the claim. And the text details his next 12 years or so, from age 14 to 26, spent in India.
What did he do there?
He studied in major holy cities, Jagannath, Rajagriha, Benares, learned the Vedas, apparently healed people through prayer, and immersed himself in sacred scriptures. But critically, he didn't just absorb, he challenged. He strongly condemned the Hindu caste system, the Brahmins and Kshatriyas repressing the vices and sudras.
What was his message?
That God has made no difference between his children who are all alike dear to him. It positions him as a radical social reformer right there in India.
That's fascinating. Did he challenge religious ideas too?
Oh, yes. He reportedly denied that the Vedas and Puranas were divinely inspired. He preached about one single indivisible God, the eternal judge, the eternal spirit. And he explicitly rejected the Hindu Trimurti Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and particularly practices like human sacrifice, say, to the goddess Kali.
So he's actively preaching against core Hindu beliefs and practices. That must have caused trouble.
Big trouble. The text says the Brahmins and Kshatriyas wanted him dead because of his teachings, so Issa had to flee.
Where did he go then?
He headed north into the Himalayas to Nepal. And there he spent another 6 years studying Buddhist scriptures, the sutras.
So a total of about 12 years studying both Hindu and Buddhist traditions in the East.
According to this narrative, yes.
What happens after Nepal?
He begins his journey back west, passing through Persia, modern-day Iran. And he continues preaching against idol worship and human sacrifice among the people he encountered, calling them pagans.
Did he run into opposition there too?
Yes, particularly from the Zoroastrian priests. He supposedly confronted them, declaring there was no god other than the god of good, and that the sun, which they revered, was merely God's creation, not God itself.
Bold move.
Very. The text says the priest tried to assassinate him, but he managed to escape.
Yes, around age 29, he finds his people despairing under Roman rule. His message is one of hope, urging them not to lose faith and promising deliverance, but deliverance from the yoke of sin.
What were his core teachings back in Israel, according to this text? Very ethical. Helping the poor, supporting the weak, doing evil to none. He emphasized acting from a full heart, not for personal gain. And interestingly, he taught that physical temples weren't what God cared about.
Really? What did he say was important?
Human hearts. He called them the true temples of God, and our hands and eyes, sacred vessels. It's a very internal, personal form of spirituality being described.
Okay, so this brings us to the confrontation with the authorities, with Pilate. How does this account portray that?
It says Pilate, the Roman governor, was alarmed by Issa's popularity. He feared Issa would incite a rebellion, maybe try to claim the throne. Standard political fear.
But what about the Jewish leadership?
Here's another fascinating twist. According to this text, the Hebrew elders and priests actually interrogated Issa and found no fault in him. They concluded he was preaching religious reform, not political uprising, and explicitly stated, "We do not judge a just one." They essentially acquitted him.
So in this version, the Jewish elders defend him to Pilate.
That's what it says. But Pilate remained suspicious. He sent spies, tried to gather incriminating evidence, and even tortured Issa, hoping for a confession.
And did Issa say anything significant during this period?
Yes. Some very interesting teachings are recorded here. On authority, he gave a nuanced view. Obey Caesar for the sake of order, but remember that Caesar himself is ultimately accountable to God.
And there was something about women too, wasn't there?
A really profound section. He speaks about respecting women, calling woman the mother of the universe, the fount of everything good and beautiful, and emphasizing how man depends on her. It's quite a powerful statement on gender equality for the time.
That's remarkable. So how does the betrayal and condemnation happen if the elders acquitted him?
Pilate, still determined, apparently bribed a witness implying to be Judas, who then falsely testified that Issa had claimed to be the king of Israel.
And Issa's reaction?
Compassion, even for the betrayer. He reportedly said, "Thou wilt find mercy, for what thou hast said did not come out from thine own heart." Then he rebuked Pilate for his methods.
Did the judges accept the false testimony?
No. The text says the judges refused to condemn him based on this bought testimony and symbolically washed their hands of the matter. But Pilate, overriding them, ordered the crucifixion anyway.
So Pilate bears the sole responsibility in this version.
Pretty much. The narrative then describes the crucifixion and death. And another interesting detail, Pilate, fearing a revolt or the body becoming a relic, had Issa's body secretly removed from the tomb and reburied elsewhere.
Ah, so the empty tomb
leads the people to believe in a resurrection, a rumor that spreads. Pilate then forbids anyone from even speaking Issa's name under penalty of death.
and the disciples.
Despite the prohibition, they eventually spread Issa's doctrine to other nations, the heathen, carrying his message beyond Israel.
All right, that's the narrative itself. Now, Notovitch didn't just present the text, he analyzed it. He made some bold claims about its accuracy compared to the Gospels, didn't he?
He certainly did. His main argument was about timing and proximity. He claimed these Buddhist chronicles were compiled just 3 or 4 years after the death of Jesus by people who were eyewitnesses or contemporaries.
Whereas the Gospels...
He argued the Gospels were written much later, about people further removed from the events, leading to what he saw as vagueness and a lack of precision, especially concerning Jesus's early life, those missing years. So he's basically claiming this Eastern account is closer to the source.
It's a direct challenge to the authority of the canonical Gospels based on chronology. And he applied similar logic to the Moses story, too.
Yes, he championed that version we discussed, Moses, the educated king's son, using strategy, like the ebb tide for the Red Sea crossing. He presented it as more historically plausible, less reliant on pure miracle, fitting his argument for a more grounded historical account.
And what about the resurrection? That's obviously a cornerstone of Christian belief. How did Notovitch interpret the Buddhist account's ending?
Well, the Buddhist text simply says, Issa's soul reunited with the eternal spirit. There's no mention of a physical, bodily ascension.
So a spiritual return, not a physical one.
Exactly. And Notovitch theorized that the story of the bodily resurrection was something added later by the evangelists.
Why would they do that, according to him?
He suggested it was the deliberate move to give Christianity divine authority and a supernatural character, making it more appealing and powerful to new converts in the Greco-Roman world. He saw it as a theological construction, not necessarily a historical event as described.
That's a profound reinterpretation. So, stepping back from the specific claims, what does this whole deep dive into Notovitch's book mean for us, listening today?
Well, it really forces you to grapple with the idea that history isn't always monolithic. There could be multiple accounts, multiple truths, shaped by the cultures and contexts they come from.
And the biases inherent in any record-keeping, ancient or modern.
Exactly. It makes you question how narratives become dominant, how others get sidelined or lost, and how much our understanding is shaped by the sources we happen to have access to.
So it's less about whether Notovitch was definitively right.
And more about the value of considering alternative perspectives. It challenges us to think critically about the origins of even our most fundamental beliefs and to recognize that history itself is an ongoing process of discovery and interpretation.
So we've journeyed with Nicolas Notovitch, explored his pretty remarkable claims, and delved into this unknown life of Jesus Christ. It's a narrative with some startling elements. Moses as an Egyptian prince, Jesus studying Buddhism in India, a very different take on the resurrection.
Whether you find Notovitch's account convincing or maybe completely incredible, it's hard to deny the power of the story he unearthed or claimed to unearth. This deep dive really highlights that enduring human quest for knowledge, for filling in the gaps.
Yeah, it's a potent reminder that there might always be more to learn, even about stories we think we know inside out. And seeking out those diverse perspectives, well, that can lead to some genuine aha moments, can it?
Absolutely. It opens up new ways of thinking.
Okay, so here's a final provocative thought to leave you with. If such a radically different account of a figure as central as Jesus could potentially exist, maybe hidden away for centuries, what other historical narratives that we accept as standard, as fact, might have entirely different versions waiting to be discovered somewhere?
And if those versions exist, what does that imply about the very nature of historical truth itself?
Something to ponder.